Hello, my name is Buddy Britton, and today I will be your host. In this video, we will be discussing the Lords of Under Orange, their title, their city, their story, and who they are as players. We hope that you can learn something or take something away from this video, but if not, we first and foremost hope that you can just enjoy the story itself. This is an interesting story of friends coming to sit down to play a role-playing game, an RPG if you will, whose lives, after rolling the first dice, will always be changed and different. We hope that you can sit back and relax and enjoy part 1 of 3 of the videos regarding the story of the Lords of Under Orange. The story starts with a reading, an excerpt by me, the Dungeon Master, titled History of Elu. Life began and grew normally, though not much is known of its actual origin. Simply put, there was life. Life was said to be simple and peaceful. This was the time of BC, before convergence. However, life itself began to change when a very powerful and respected sorcerer named Elumar made a pact with 2 otherworldly beings. He disappeared completely to return centuries later with those other beings, bringing their worlds with him into the same star system. This is known as the time of convergence. This time marked a sad time for many. Elu was nowhere to be found, and this made matters even worse. From the time of convergence until about 500 AC, after convergence, was known as the Age of Blindness. Due to the portals allowing interplanetary travel, this period consisted of much war, famine, disease, and death. This age came to an end when the political and wartime leaders decided to meet and make a treaty of peace. This treaty would be known as the coming together of clean hands. The leaders decided to allow interplanetary travel, so long as the portals be guarded and travel be regulated by the interplanetary laws known as the Laws of Hevel. This was a very different time, many new things to be experienced by the 3 worlds, and that is how the world came to be known as Elumar, or just Elu. The names of the others continue to be Terrin and Chenesh. 3 worlds lived in peace for many centuries, but in the year of 1897 AC, life changed once again. 2 warlocks, with the help of ancient dwarvish stones and the magic of the primordials, brought a devastating chaos to both the material and elemental plane. Both planes of existence were leveled and even swallowed up by what was known as the Void. This threat was neutralized and vanquished by a group of brave heroes that had to give their lives to defeat the Void. As such a powerful chaos spell, most of the world was barren, and only standing structures and a faint echo of life was left. The emptiness brought the attention of the Weavers, powerful beings who weave their song and words into existence itself, bringing life and energy. After the Weaver's song was sung, many left for elsewhere. This left the planet vastly unexplored, and the Age of Adventure was brought back once again. Though dispelled, the Void mixed many things from other planes into the current one we reside, and also opened various forgotten portals. Side note, the lands are teeming with deadly beasts, and ancient abandoned ruins, folks of varying species, and a hint of lost and forgotten treasure. The year is 1895 AV, after Void, and many believe another apocalyptic event is due soon. And so this is where our story begins. 5 friends embarking on a journey. The 5 characters are Samson, a half-elf druid. Bellamy, also a half-elf druid. Adonis, to start off as an elf druid also. These characters obviously wanted to stick together. Didn't really know what they were doing. You have Caleb, an elf ranger. And you had Angelus, a human paladin. Accompanying our adventurers is a human fighter named Gaelic. Our adventurers start belonging to the military of Cakestead, located in the Free States, the southern part of the 18, or the continent of Cantime. The leader of the Free States is a very powerful wizard named Karnak, who will become very important later. The adventurers receive a note by Captain Travis to report to the barracks. As they do so, they are given a task to report to a windmill. Observe and report is their orders, and so the adventurers, given the day to go about doing whatever they'd like, exploring the city of Cakestead, as I let them do, went about and did random things as you would expect adventuring party to do. One wanting to meditate in the lake, another one opening a bank account, another one wanting to find some sort of illegal substance to sell, another one just going along for the ride, another one just perceiving everything. This is how they started their game. Nonetheless, the time eventually arrives that they need to go to the windmill, and the next day they do so. They head out on this scouting mission, which is not very far from the city. They head to the windmill, prepared to sneak and observe any suspicious activity that may be going on. When they get there, they take a position that is ready to pounce on any threat that may be lurking in the windmill, which is surprising. Good idea, I would say. After taking this position, surrounding this windmill, one of the druids decides to transform, uses wild shape, into a snake. He sneaks inside to survey the area. Inside, he sees a man dressed in the same uniform as him, tied to a pole, beaten and continuing to be beaten and interrogated by 2 brute figures and a strange devil-like creature that these adventurers have never encountered before. He doesn't report back. Instead, he sits back and he's just watching this event go on. Eventually, the other players get worried and suspicious that he hasn't returned yet, and so they take offensive positions. Another sneaking into the windmill, another getting ready to break down the door, one arrow drawn at the door, one ready to make his way in somehow. I don't really remember. Anyway, this is where we enter our first combat. They invade the windmill and they start taking out these brute characters and this devilish looking figure. They grab the man that was beaten and totally just mocked and has been just messed up by these guys, and they successfully get him out. One character falling to 0 HP, making death saving throws, luckily succeeding, and finally, under the fog of war, quite literally one of the characters casting fog cloud, they win. Upon searching the bodies, they find this interesting green stone on the devil-like character. They leave the windmill, and the man that they just saved disappears. They think that they're under attack, or this may have been a trick or a trap, but when the character who fell to 0 HP, this is Samson, looks at his arms and he looks at the clothes left by this character, he realizes that there's a figure standing on top of the windmill itself. As he looks up at the figure, it seems to be a person crouching down, dressed in mage-like clothes, just nodding back and forth. The character eventually disappears, and the players then reconvene. They decide that since they went against Captain Travis's orders of observing and reporting, that it'd be best to click the bodies together in the middle of the room and burn the windmill down. Yes, they burnt the windmill. The players then come up with an elaborate story of what they were about to tell their captain, who was sure to be furious at them. Once they have the story down, they make their way inside of Cakestead and report to their chambers. When they enter the door, Captain Travis immediately just starts wailing on one of the players. They don't really know what to do. They're being attacked by their captain, and they kind of just take the beating. The captain then points at Caleb, the ranger and less talkative one, and asks him what happens. He immediately cracks under pressure and tells him about burning down the windmill, which Captain Travis actually didn't know. He knew that there was some sort of mission going on sent by Karnak, the head wizard. One of his lackeys, or one of his secret policemen, actually were investigating some foreign invaders, and this message was not relayed properly, so Captain Travis sent them on this mission to observe and report. Well, he knew that that's not what happened, but he didn't know that the windmill was burnt down by them. He was pretty pissed and threatened them with sewage duty, which none of them liked. Gaelic the drunk, I don't even think showed up to the meeting. I'm pretty sure he just went straight to the bar. Captain Travis then hesitantly gives them their new mission. By this time, this is game 2. To send them to a tavern, actually, sorry. I believe it was the Iron Boar. He heard that there was some ruckus, inside the tavern. Someone was going to start a fight, or someone was looking to stir up some trouble, and their mission was to go and just prevent that, just keep the peace. And so the players, later on that evening, head to the tavern. I find that at this time I should mention that this particular time is known as the Week of the White Streak, a time in the city where these white wizards defeated these dark ancient energies invading the city at some point in time. And so everybody wears white. It's a huge festival for a week. Everybody is joyous, and there's vendors, and there's a lot going on. Between the time of the adventurers reporting to the tavern, which was the next day, they had the rest of the current day to do as they wish. So they went and explored the rest of the city and spoke to vendors, and they met a dragon merchant. He had these dragon eggs for sale, but they were way too expensive for any of the party members to purchase, even if they put their money together. So they wanted to create a plan to steal the dragon eggs, but that was quickly dispatched. One of the players decided he wanted to create a thieves guild, and that was also quickly dispatched. At this time of arguing and trying to decide what to do, evening eventually comes, and it was time for them to report to their actual job. They head to the Iron Boar Inn, and they're starting to take watch. 4 of the 5 characters, or 6 if you include Gaelic, wait inside of the tavern. They're kind of just looking around, making sure that the peace is kept, and they're taking different watches going outside. Most of the people don't like the fact that the town's guard are sitting inside the tavern and are keeping a close eye on everybody. One of the characters, I believe it was Caleb again, hears someone talking about starting a fight and starts heading over to that table. In the meantime, the players come to find out that this tavern is actually the home of the Fighters Guild. These men who kind of created some sort of boxing fight club. There was actually a ring in the middle of this tavern with a giant boar's head kind of in the middle, acting as like a trophy. These fighters were distinguished by a red cloth around their torso, and they were revered amongst the city. One of the players, I believe, thought he heard one of the fighters say something to him. One thing led to another, and they both ended up in the boxing ring, which wouldn't have been a problem. I believe this player was Bellamy. He got offended at what the fighters said, so he started boxing. He started losing, I might add, until Angelus, the paladin, steps in and starts swinging at the fighter from outside the ring. This made the rest of the Fighters Guild pretty upset, and another one of their members ends up also joining the fight. Now you have 2-on-2, and then I believe Samson wants to join, and Gaelic wants to join. Then more and more fighters are entering the ring, and now you have an all-out brawl. Some of the dwarves and just the humans in the tavern are also getting kind of anxious. They don't really know what's going on. Things seem to be getting out of hand. The bartender is getting pretty upset. And then you have Caleb, sitting on the other end of the tavern, not knowing what's going on, very unexperienced in this sort of business or work. He draws out his bow, and he shoots at one of the members. He misses. Matter of fact, I believe he rolls a 1. So I allowed the fighter to catch the arrow. He looks at Caleb, and he realizes that he tried to kill him. This made him very pissed off. All of the other Fighters Guild members stopped what they were doing, and they were headed towards Caleb. This went from a mission of keeping the peace to keeping Caleb alive. Everybody broke out their weapons, and now it was an all-out war inside of this tavern. One of the druids, I believe it was Adonis, conjuring up thorns and breaking the floorboards. Another member grabbing chairs and tables and throwing them across the room, actually grabbing people and throwing them at the fighters. The bartender throwing bottles at the heads of the fighters, and also the militia, this military men. Caleb shooting his arrows and accidentally hitting random citizens. Eventually the bartender was able to calm everybody down, and he got people out. Samson made his way quickly over to Caleb. He stood in between Caleb and the lead fighter of the Fighters Guild. The member, this leader, told Samson that if he didn't move out of the way, that Samson was going to die. And Samson did one of the bravest things this guild member has ever seen. He stood in the way, and he told him that if he was going to get to him, that he would have to go through him. Sorry, if he were to get through Caleb, he'd have to get through him. The guild member stood back, realizing that he could totally demolish Samson where he stood. The guild member standing a good foot, maybe 1.5 feet over Samson, being a very small in stature. The guild member then called over one of the lower ranking members of the Fighters Guild, told him to take off his sash and offers it to Samson, telling him that he has a place in their guild for his bravery and stupidity. Samson did not disagree with the guild leader. He immediately took the sash and welcomed the idea of joining the Fighters Guild, making something more of himself in this pathetic military that he was a part of. never getting any action and oftentimes suffering having to do sewage duty for the lack of competence that him and his team actually had. At that thought, the bartender, furious at this point in time, kicks everybody else out and bans the team members as guards, as citizens, from the tavern itself. Gaelic was pretty upset, as being a drunkard, that was one of his favorite bars. They left, knowing that they failed to keep the peace again, as Captain Travis ordered, and knowing that they were going to have to face him once again. After reporting to Captain Travis, him being absolutely furious that the team is incompetent enough to fail another mission in a row, he actually sends them to General Mustang, who is a fairly burly man who's general over Cakestead's militia. He resides in the court, the keep of Cakestead, if you will. And he tells Samson and the rest of them that they must report there immediately. The players then start heading to the court, meeting up with NPCs whom they've known in the past. And upon arriving, they open the door and are welcomed by another sergeant grabbing them and pulling them to the ground. There seems to be some sort of court session happening between Karnak, a huge white knight, and men dressed in red robes. The sergeant pulls the characters down and he tells them to shut up and to listen and just to bow. He tells them that they don't understand the powers that's happening here and that the Sanguines have arrived. And the conversation goes as follows. The Sanguines, being an elderly looking race dressed in the sanguine robes, Karnak, the leader of the Cakestead and also the Free States, being a half-elf it seems, wearing blue and elegant robes, and white is his name of this knight wearing almost white silvery armor. And so the Sanguine starts. You have let magic run rampant in this area, which you are responsible for, and your city is on the brink of war. You mean Barovia? There's no issue. You have problems of their own. You Sanguines should be dealing with the East. They need your help. It was your duty to deal with them. This is your hemisphere. False. My hemisphere is Cakestead, and you have no business here. White, see them out. Karnak, be reasonable. My men are spread thin through this realm. Don't make me have to keep an eye on you too. I can take care of my own city. Your business is your own. You know we don't want another incident like with Ray. This has nothing to do with her. Now, if you will, I have things to attend in a city to govern. Fine. I am leaving a guard here, and I will take my leave. After you, Sanguine. You are a fool, Karnak, and you can't keep this up. Be gone! And both White and the Sanguine disappeared. The players, utterly confused at what's going on, obviously don't recognize that there are higher powers at play than their level 3 selves. They make their way to Mustang, and when they get there, they are very, very scared at what is about to happen, very anxious at what General Mustang is going to do. Will he just totally dishonorably discharge them? Will he maybe even kill them? No. He doesn't. He's actually more interested at the incident that happens at the windmill. After one of the players, I believe it to be Samson and Bellamy actually, both players, are explaining what happens at the windmill, Mustang stops them at the mention of this interesting green stone. He asks them if they have it, and Samson presents the stone. General Mustang grabs the stone and he just looks at it deeply, so infatuated and just taken away by whatever this stone may be. He actually offers them a gift, a dagger of his own, engraved with some dwarvish writing. The players take it. Bellamy sheathes the dagger. Mustang tells them to be gone, and he goes into his chambers, just staring deeply into the stone. The players, utterly confused, continue forth. I then allow the players to go ahead and invest more in their characters in the city, seeing what the Week of the White Streak has to offer. One player, Adonis, actually decides to head to the nearby college to further his understanding of magic. The others decide to drink the night away, and one gets to talking to another group of friends, and they decide that they want to start a business selling dog roes and all these other illegal substances. Adonis, while at the college, when he arrives, he realizes that the college is in ruin, actually, from a recent battle that just happened. He gets there, and there are people whom he's never even seen the race before. He doesn't know what these people are. Some people he recognizes. Karnak is actually there, which is very interesting since he was just at the court. When Adonis studies what is the situation that's going on, he sees that there is a man dressed in red and black robes. He is bent over Karnak with a gem protruding from his chest, and Karnak is waving his hands and reciting some incantation, and the college seems to be growing or being rebuilt as he's muttering these things. Adonis takes no note of it, he takes a note of it, but he takes nothing of it, and he heads into the library. Speaking to the librarian, he's looking for some sort of pagan or ancient magic. He heads to a section known for their dark magics or dark arts, and there he stumbles upon a couple books that he can't necessarily read. Then there seems to be a character there who asks him if he would like to be able to read the books, convincing Adonis that he has a power that will grant him the ability to read these books. Adonis, curious, speaks with this man and agrees that he would like this power. This man introduces himself as Bellamy and presents a book. Tells Adonis to write his name in the book, and that he would be granted this power to be able to read these ancient texts and do other things. Adonis, almost without hesitation, grabs the book and signs his name. Sign me up so I can read these ancient texts. He does so, and quite after, Bellamy leaves the library. Adonis starts grabbing the books, and now with this new power, which almost sets in immediately, starts tearing through these books, just reading them back and forth. He sends a message to the rest of the party, telling them that the college seems to be destroyed and that they should probably come check it out. After a while, the rest of the party agrees, Samson actually buying a duck. But in the meantime, he is confronted with his own issues. Samson, walking around, kind of observing what's going on, just trying to be a good guardsman. Comes in contact with a man who bumps into him, apologizes, wearing this white bird mask, and walks away. Samson, checking his pockets, he notices that his gold pouch is missing, and that in place of this gold pouch is a ring. He doesn't understand what this is, but he just realized that he just got mugged, but almost reverse pickpocketed. He heads towards the guard's tower and wants to know what this ring is. You see, there's a very strict law in Cagestead. Every magic item that you have must be registered. And so he heads to the guard towers and hopes that maybe this is a magic item. Maybe someone can identify it. And also trying to be within the law to have it registered. When he gets there, the guards, the admirals, the sergeants, they're infuriated. They're curious. They don't know what's going on. Why he has this artifact that they've been looking for so long. And he tells them, you know what? We don't want you to be in trouble. We're going to put you in the cell overnight for your safety. Someone might be coming after you, and we don't want that to happen. Samson pretty pissed off that he has to stay in a cell overnight because he got pickpocketed. He heads in the cell and trying to catch some sleep. This man with the mask appears right next to him again, asking him if he wants to leave. Samson's like, yeah, get me the heck out of here. Who are you? What are you doing? The man grabs Samson and they just go through the wall. Samson just realized that he broke out of jail and now he's probably a fugitive. He turns into a bird and flies away. He knows that he kind of screwed up again, though not his fault. He finds a place to land and he meets back up with Gaelic and with Bellathor. I actually get the names mixed up. I don't even remember who is who. Bellathor was the name of the wizard that gave Adonis the book. Bellamy is the druid part of Bravo Team 7, which is the name of the group that our adventures are in. So Bellamy, meeting up with Samson, realizes that he's in trouble. He just escaped prison. They try to grab some things. They're ready to head out of the city when they meet up with Caleb and Angelus and Gaelic, and they decide that they need to go with Adonis. Now Samson at this point in time does not want to go to the college. The College of Cagestead is actually one of the last places he wants to go, thinking that Karnak might be there, especially if he's a fugitive. They eventually go anyway, and while they get there, it doesn't really take very long, maybe half of a day, maybe, if that, only a few hours actually. When they get there, the college is almost completely rebuilt, and they almost don't believe Adonis when Adonis says that it was just destroyed moments prior. When they get there, Samson is very eager to get out of Dodge, get out of this area. Now he's a fugitive of the city that he loved, and now he's probably not a part of the military anymore. When coming in contact with Karnak. Now Karnak had a very strange liking with Gaelic, the drunkard of the party, because Gaelic was actually the leader of a political party known as the Drunken Fist. The Drunken Fist backed the right for the city to tax the people to fund the taverns, bars, breweries of the city. The other two parties were just the Karnak party and the No Mage party. The Karnak party, of course, worshipped Karnak. They wanted him to be the leader of the city always. The No Mage party believed that the power of Elumar when ruling totally destroyed civilizations, and that Karnak would inevitably do the same. So they were totally against the fact of any sort of megarogarchy, which is when a wizard rules over the people. After Gaelic has some words with Karnak and they exchange pleasantries, Karnak knows the situation that's happening with Samson, and he asks him to pull out the ring. Samson, totally forgetting about the ring but not thinking he has it, checks his pockets, and it's there. He pulls it out, and he's curious to what that even is. Karnak goes and tells him how it's a ring of non-magic detection. No divination can spy on the person that holds the ring, and the only reason why Karnak knew that it was there was because it's the only place that he couldn't feel magic. Karnak has a strange divinity to all things living. And he tells Samson that he was going to make it up to him by returning that ring to the monks whom it belonged to on top of the mountain right above Cakestead. Samson was totally up for it if he didn't have to be a fugitive of the city, but he also told them that they were going together. All of Bravo Team 7. Samson had no issue, the rest of the team had no issue, except for maybe Adonis, who wanted to study more magic. And Karnak told them that they would be accompanying a wizard with them as well. Karnak leaves for some time and returns back with Belethor. Adonis knows this man because he just signed his book, and after exchanging words with each other and everybody introducing themselves, this is where the adventure changes. This is where the adventure kind of begins, where they go outside of Cakestead, where the party, the adventurers, now have to travel with this man who is covered and shrouded in mystery. This is where their morality kind of gets put to the test and is almost in question. And so the mission with Belethor will be covered in the next video. We know that this was kind of lengthy, and I can almost promise you that the next one won't be as much. This, of course, had to be a little bit longer for talking about the background. But the players themselves, looking back at it, not knowing what they were doing pretty much the entire time, I'm kind of glad how they handled this diversity, how they handled these missions. I don't know if I would have handled it any different. I don't know if I would have changed any of the actions. I don't know if I would have been able to go about these things in a different way. And so I was proud of them in that sense. This is now 2 years later, where in part 3 we'll be talking about the adventures that the party is going through right now and how their actions are vastly different than the mistakes and issues that they were having in the very beginning of the game, like most Dungeons & Dragons games. But I thank you for listening this far. If you made it this far, feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe this video. Maybe you've learned something, maybe you haven't. But I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of part 3 of the journey, the adventure of the Lords of Under Orange. Stay tuned for the next episode. Now, as per usual, let's grab some dice and let's get rolling. See you next time.